Okay. And let me bring up the chat window too, just in case anybody wants to chat their question out.
I just have a quick question.
Sure, go ahead.
For the output for the assignment 9, I think it is.
Okay.
Are you looking for files? Like text files, or are you just looking for it to be outputted? Like the names and stuff.
Give me a second to, I've been working on about 100 things today, so let me just get my head on straight. Let me go back to 473 and see what assignment 9 was. Give me 1 second here. Content, this was week 6, right? Okay. Yeah, so in this particular case, the first assignment here, basically you're going to be using requests in Beautiful Soup to basically pull some information. In this case, the first part of this is just the page title, what the URL links were, and what the images that were found on the page. Okay, so basically it's just the links that were extracted. So in that particular case for assignment number 9. And so I showed you in one of the scripts how to extract the images as well once you have their URL. So you're going to be going through that whole website and processing all of those and pulling the page title, the URL links, and then the images that are on the page. So in order to be able to do this, you can just create a document that contains the output. So the titles that you found, the links that you found, and then the images extracted. So put all those right in the Word document or whatever you're going to basically prepare for that. Probably the best thing to do is just put it in a Word document. You can put the images right in there as well.
Okay. And the image names, right? It's just, or do you want the actual images? I saw on
Yes, and the extracted images, right? So it's the titles, links, and the extracted images. So once you extract the images, take those images and place them right into the document.
Okay, so you want the images and the names of the images?
Yeah, you'll get those when you basically, the names of the images are going to be just the links to them, right? So so you're going to have the titles, the links, and you can put the links of the images in, and then the images itself that you extract, you can put those actual images right in the document.
Okay. All right, and there should only be one title for each
Yeah,
page.
well, if there is just one title, if all you do is just the homepage, but there are multiple pages to this particular website. So you have to go through the website. So once you get a link, you got to make sure that the link is pointing inside the domain. And then you need to follow that link and get all of the links and images off the sub pages, right?
Okay, so you want everything. Okay.
So yeah, and basically one way to kind of get a feel for that is just to go to when you're in the VLE, actually in Cyberopolis, you can go to the web, you can bring up the web browser and you can kind of look at the page with the web browser first, just to kind of get an idea of the sub pages that are there. But you'll be able to process those based on the facts that you have the links. And all you have to do is the real critical point there is to make sure that if you're going to follow a link, in other words, you're going to request another page, right? And you're going to, get the content of that page, just make sure that it's in the same domain, right? So if one of those pages points out to the real internet and not just within Cyberopolis, you do not want to follow those links, right? Because you'll be there forever, right? Because then you would follow. So you want to just make sure that the links that you follow in order to be able to crawl through that that web page are within the domain that you are accessing.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Yep, no problem. I don't think there's too many pages within that particular website. There's only a few, I think, so it shouldn't be too difficult. So, one way to approach it is to create a list of the URLs from a particular page and then, follow those and then get the list of the links and make sure, you don't want to, the other thing to be a little careful of is you want to make sure that you don't follow a link more than once, right? So you got to sort of, create the links first, so then you know what all the pages are. So just kind of a hint is that once you go through each of the pages, you want to basically just create like a set, a list that you convert to a set. So then you only have unique links to those pages. That's one way to
Yeah.
approach it. I think in my solution to this particular problem, I actually use a recursive call, but you don't have to do that. I'm going to show you that solution on Wednesday, but you don't have to actually use recursion to do this, but I'm going to introduce the topic of recursion on Wednesday to kind of show you how to do it with recursion, but you can take a much simpler approach since it's a relatively small website.
Yeah. One question for you, like off topic. On the doing like a Python object, trying to do recursive inside of a Python object, it gives you an error if you go too deep. Do you know how to fix that, or have you ever experienced that?
No, I've never experienced that. Typically, if you have that problem, my guess is that the only reason that that would occur, in my opinion, is if you ran out of memory. Which
Well, no, it wasn't out of memory. I just was writing a recursive algorithm for Python inside of an object, and apparently it didn't like that I was doing that.
Well, I'll show you my solution on Wednesday, which was recursion within this web page. But that shouldn't happen. That tends to indicate there's some sort of logic issue within that. Now, typically, so you said you created an object, so then you were instantiating objects within the object, not just basically doing recursive calls to a function.
I was just taking the index. It wasn't for this class, but I was just taking the index of something and returning it back. So let's say if I increased the index, it would return the index back, but it would just average out a list array of like, let's say like N500.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I only did like, it didn't even do one. It just said error, something recursive.
Can you, when you get a minute, would you mind sending me the script and I would take a look at it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Just send me an email with the and attach the script, and I can see why that would be happening, because there's certainly no reason it should happen. But let me take a look at the script and maybe I can shed some light.
All right. Thank you.
Welcome. So any other questions regarding this week's assignment? I think it's pretty straightforward, but it's, again, go through the examples that I provide, because it provides each of the elements you're going to need. The only trick is what we were just talking about here. How do I actually recurse through the web page in some reasonable way? And like I said, because this is a small example, you don't have to use recursion. You can take a more programmatic approach that's more straightforward, but you're going to have to think through that issue of the fact that, okay, I've got this web page and I've got all the links. Okay, now I'm going to go through each one of those links, and then when I go to that link, I'm going to pull links. And I got to make sure that when I get the links from the second page, they don't already exist in my list, right? Because I don't want to actually go. So you're going to, every time you go through a page, you're going to get new links that you're going to want to follow, right? But you got to make sure that they're not already in the list or haven't been already processed, right? So you don't want to actually, otherwise you'll end up in an infinite loop, because you'll just keep looping around. So you got to be thinking about how you're going to, this is kind of the essence of this assignment. How am I going to keep track of the individual links within this web page, right? And handle each one of them, but don't handle them more than once, right? So that's going to be something you're going to have to think through a little bit in order to get through this particular assignment. And if you don't get all of that, right, if you get, 1 or 2 pages or whatever, you're going to get almost all full credit, right? I mean, you're going to basically do that. But this is the hard thinking part of this particular assignment, is how do I actually, handle the 2 elements here. One, making sure that I'm not processing a page more than once, and also making sure that I'm only processing pages that are within the domain. So those are 2 things to kind of think about, as you kind of devise your strategy.
I do have a question.
Sure.
For the document, is that document written, are we writing that document through Python, or is that created outside of Python?
You can create it outside of Python. In other words, you can pull the information that you have and, print it out, and then just take that information, because you're going to have to take the images that you're going to create. You're going to write those to files, right? Like I did in the example, and then you'll have to build the document, by hand for that. So absolutely, it's external of Python, but you'll get all of the information from the Python script that you wrote. You're going to get the links and the titles and the images, as you process the web page, and then take that stuff and put them into a document.
Okay, thank you. So I think my challenge with this assignment, is the different links going through the, I guess, the recursive portion of it, but I will keep looking, because at first I was confused because I would get different titles. I thought something was wrong, but I think now I'm starting to understand where I was getting the different titles from.
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways that you can handle the links. In other words, you can simply, every time you encounter a link, you can put it in a list, right? And then, once you have the list from the one page, you can start working through the list to process the next page, and then continue to add to your list, but then making sure that you haven't already handled that particular page, right? So there's a little bit of thinking about, hey, what mechanism could I use in order to keep track of the pages I've already processed, right? So I could create a list of doing this without recursion. I could create a list of pages that I need to process, and then I could create another list of pages that I've already processed, right? And so then you can make sure that if I'm going to add a new link, a new page to the pages I have to process, before I do that, I might want to check the list of pages I've already processed, right? And if it's already been processed, I don't need to add it to the list of to process, right? So that's one way to handle it without using recursion. The slicker way to do this is with recursion, but it's not necessary for this assignment. And I'm going to give you an example of that you could use over and over again on Wednesday. But, think about how I would keep track of what I need to process and what I have processed. And then when I encounter a new link, I can check to see if it's in the already been processed list, and then I don't need it to put it into the to process list. So you can kind of handle this kind of in a much more straightforward way without using recursion. Does that help a little bit?
Yes, thank you.
Welcome. Sam, I'm guessing that you put the script that you want me to take a look at in the chat.
Yeah, I can't give you the code because it's a work thing. I forgot.
Okay.
But if you just take a look at it, where I say what it called here, if I put the self.average function in there, then it gives me an error of too many indexes.
Yeah, I'm going to look at this. Why are you using self? This is part of an object, though. Is that why you're using self?
Yeah, that's a part of a like averaging a case, and the cases are inside that object. It's weird, right? It should have worked. But I fixed it. I mean, I just did a while loop exterior of it.
I'm gonna have to look at it a little bit more, and I can give you some advice on why this
Well, you
should.
don't have to. I was looking for a quick answer. If it's too much, I couldn't figure it out.
Okay. Hey, well, thanks for passing it along. Like I said, I'll okay. All right. Oh, I see why. I'll take a look at it though. It's kind of an interesting problem.
Yeah.
What was the overall objective of the script you were writing?
I had a different array lengths, and I had to average each case of each list, and they could be like 100, could be up to 500, it could be 300, and there could be any varying amount of cases. And I just needed a way to process each one of these cases an average amount.
Give me an idea what a case is. I'm not sure.
So it's like it's a unit test where it's measuring system performance, and
Okay.
each proc row would have memory, system usage, RAM usage in megabytes, and it would average all these things out to be like outputted to matplotlib. And I needed like an average graph of like n to the 10th unit test runs to
Okay.
figure out if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Okay. I will take a look at it.
I'm sure if you what?
No, go ahead.
I'm sure if you just try to write like a simple recursion algorithm where you try to like call itself inside of the class, that it would give you the same error.
Yeah, I don't have that issue. I do that all the time. I mean, with,
No
obviously
way.
I'm writing machine learning code, so I've got, tens of thousands of, data points where I'm recursing through those. So I don't know, there's got to be something. I'm guessing it's something to do with the asserts, but I got to look at it for more than 5 minutes to see. But
Yeah.
I don't think.
Wait, do you do PyTorch? I'm sorry. I love machine learning.
No, I actually typically use I use scikit-learn or a couple of other libraries that we use some of the standard Python stuff for the machine learning class.
Oh wow, that's very cool.
Yeah, so it's CYB 474 is the machine learning class in Python I teach, and then CYBV 475 is the deception class where we're using Python to create deception. So we're using GPT and some of the other stuff. So from that perspective.
Did you try PyTorch?
I've used that a little bit. It's, I don't know, for me using, most of the stuff that I'm doing is supervised learning. So the algorithms within scikit, work beautifully for that kind of stuff, where PyTorch does some other things that I'm not typically doing, right? But I'm doing some of the things that I do with image analysis and that kind of stuff. Scikit is perfectly fine for those things, so I don't use Torch.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Any other questions? Elizabeth, I see that you're on the line. Did anything come across your desk that needed to be addressed?
Nothing from my end this week. I did get a question from the 12 that I'll ask go for that office hours.
Okay, yeah, good. Just, yeah, you probably got the message too that I'm doing a bunch of things during the 312 office hour tonight to get everybody ready for, the last 2 weeks in the final. So that'd be great to bring that out then. Cool. All right, if there's nothing else pressing, I'll think about I may be able to give you some hints on the recursive way to handle the website, because I may have a couple of scripts that will give you kind of a framework for that, for recursing the websites that I could give you. If you guys want to see that, I'll put that up tomorrow, just so you have that, you can play around with. I have a simple crawler that won't give away the assignment, but will show you how to do the recursion portion of the assignment without doing the assignment for you. I just got to strip that script down to bare bones so you can see how the recursion works, and walking through the website without doing all the other stuff you have to do, but actually showing you how to actually, process one page at a time and go do that with recursion. So without giving away the store, I can give you the recursive piece of that so you can play around with it. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, have a good night, everybody. And we'll see you on Wednesday. We're going to do some really cool stuff next week as well. So we'll get through this assignment and then jump to the next part of the class, which is going to get hopefully more fun for you as well. So have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
You too.
Take care.